Ah, the familiar squeaky toy, captivating children until it mysteriously vanishes into the abyss. Did you know that an analysis from 2021 estimated that 680,000 tons of toys are tossed out every year? That's like saying goodbye to one third of the toys manufactured annually. But there never seems to be a shortage of toy supplies. So, where do they keep coming from? Hello, this is Deep Dive. I'm Liu Yingqi. The city of Yiwu in eastern China's Zhejiang province is the world's largest market for all things small and delightful. From cuddly stuffed animals to office supplies and festive Christmas ornaments, you name it. These products may sound like worthless trinkets, but they are actually the unsung heroes of major global events. Long before the Paris Olympics kicks off later this year, the groundwork for this mega sports extravaganza is already underway in Yiwu. Consider sports gear, national flags, medals, trophies, and even toys, all flying off the shelves. Given the significance of the Gallic rooster as a symbol of pride for France, it's very likely that global consumers will eagerly pay a premium for a toy chicken dressed in special outfits in about 2 months' time. So, how did Yiwu become the world's ultimate supermarket? Is there more to know about these seemingly insignificant products? This week on Deep Dive, I spoke with a Venezuelan content creator, Rafael Saavedra, who just visited Yiwu earlier this year. This episode is brought to you on Sunday, May the 12th. So, Rafael, was that trip your first ever visit to Yiwu, or have you been to that city before?
No, that was actually my very first time in Yiwu. I've heard of that city several times before because I am based in China, but that was actually the first time for me.
So before visiting there, like, were you aware that Yiwu is the world's, actually it's earned a nickname called the world's wholesale market?
I kind of have some knowledge, but didn't really know the scale and the importance of the city for the trade of small commodities until I get there and actually saw the dimensions of this huge market and how basically the whole city is involved in the trading business. Even though I have some knowledge, but yeah, the interesting part was like actually going there.
Yeah, because a lot of these smart commodities, the quantity of these products are very large, and you normally wonder where they come from, and you got the chance to see, to experience the evil firsthand, how much cheaper like these stuff are than the places, shops where we normally see them.
I had the chance to visit several sections because remember, this is a wholesale hub. It's a huge place and you have different sections depending on the category of the product you're looking for.
Mm.
So probably some people might just go looking for very specific type of product. But for me, since I was kind of making a report and trying to get as much information as possible about the place, I tried to go all around the place and I saw different kind of products from like toys, tools, souvenirs. Is the range is huge, and yeah, I had the chance also to talk with some business owners in that place and some buyers as well, and kind of get the insights about the prices. It's actually significantly lower compared to like regular places where you buy these kind of products. I mean, we're talking about between 20 and 50% lower in the final price. Of course, it will depend on how much you
Mm.
will buy. Remember, this is a wholesale market. So the more you buy, the cheaper you get. But yeah, we're talking about big differences in prices between this market and the other places you can get them.
Okay, that sounds actually acceptable because I was picturing like maybe 60% or even 80% lower than where we normally see them. So during your reporting and your visit to Yiwu, have you met any foreign buyers there? And I'm just wondering, how do they conduct their business activities in Yiwu, and how do they like doing business there?
Yeah, I actually had the chance to talk to several people from different backgrounds, different nationalities, and some of them were living in Yiwu, like doing business with this kind of in this kind of market. Some of them just casual buyers, they were just visiting for some specific purpose. And most of them, I would say 100% of them, the ones I talked to, they were super pleased with the experience of being Yiwu, not just the market, but the city itself. They were mentioning different kind of reasons why, like the quality of the products, the price, the variety of the products they can find over there. Some of them actually mentioned the experience of being Yiwu because of the environment they perceived in the city. It's a very international city where people from a lot of countries live there. Actually, like more than 200 nationalities live in this city.
Hmm,
A lot, and that's very interesting to know because you always might think like cities like Shanghai,
that's
where
right.
probably the most international in China, will have more foreigners, but this is super international. You find a lot of restaurants from different parts of the world. So these people I met in the market, they were actually mentioning that they were like very pleased. They were happy to visit the city. They loved the experience of being there, not just for work, but also the experience of going out and enjoying the city. So it was
Hmm.
pretty positive, their perception about Yiwu in general.
Yes, that's actually one thing I read about this place, that how international Yiwu is. And because of this international environment, I heard about that the restaurants that in Yiwu are also very diversified. And did you actually find like authentic Venezuelan restaurants there?
Well, actually, my visit was quite short. It was
Okay.
just like a couple of days, right? I just like arrived in the morning and left next day at night. I've met a couple people from Venezuela and from Venezuela visiting the city as well. It was
Okay.
quite a nice coincidence. And they told me that day they had lunch in not a Venezuelan restaurant, but a Colombian restaurant, which we kind of share a little bit of our gastronomy. So we kind of have some similar dishes. So we wanted to go for dinner together. We decided to go for Arabic food, which also I like a lot. There are plenty of restaurants from the Middle East. So I couldn't go, but I knew from them that there were like a couple Colombian restaurants or South American food restaurants in Yiwu. So yeah, the offer for the gastronomy and restaurants is very big.
Not just an international business environment, but also like food, restaurants environment
Yeah.
as well. So since Yiwu is actually the wholesale hub of the entire world, is there any like fun practices from the business owners in terms of how they've developed in the international market?
They are very experienced people when it comes to international trade. And one of the common answers among the people that I interview or have the chance to talk to is how strong the online presence they have with their businesses. So most of them try to do, for example, live streamings to
Hmm.
share their products, right? Which is very interesting because it's a kind of a cheap way, it's an affordable way to promote your product, to let your product reach more audiences. So actually, what was very interesting is to see even live streaming studios within the market. So you have the different shops, and then in some hallways, you can see some kind of like mobile studios that you can just take from one place to the other, and they just put it in the middle of the hallway so owners can just go there and use it, maybe rent it for 1 or 2 hours with their live streamers, their products, and then they can showcase them in that way in different languages. We're talking about not just for China, but in English, in Russian, in Spanish. So this is quite interesting to see the level of development for these kind of marketing tools for the EU market. So I think live streaming, as I said, nowadays is a very affordable, cheap way, but yet powerful way to reach more people. Of course, they mentioned they try to go to international trade shows as well. They
Mm.
have a very solid network of clients all around the world. They also come with multilingual staff, which helps communicating with people from all around the world that visit the market. So I think in general, they know how to do business. They know the tools, they have the tools. And this is perhaps one of the reasons why Yiwu market is a referral when it comes to the trade of small commodities in the world.
So, yeah, quite thorough and comprehensive. So, they have these conventional, traditional measures, efforts, but also they are embracing the emerging approaches to the customers, like live streaming, which, brings the products a lot closer to the
Right.
end consumers. You actually had the chance to speak and meet with your fellow Venezuelan traders in Yiwu. And do you have any examples like of what kind of scale of trade it is between Yiwu and Venezuela, or perhaps other countries?
Well, the friends that I met in that time, they are actually kind of starting a business. So they were kind of making a research. So the level for their business is very basic, but actually have the chance to meet with other people from different nationalities. I remember this lady from Russia.
Hmm.
Before she was coming a few times per year to Yiwu for this market, to purchase some merchandise and some products. So at the end, she was coming so often that she just decided to move, or actually her company decided
Okay.
to place her in Yiwu permanently, so she doesn't have to go back and forth. So communication is very constant between this lady and her company, but she doesn't need to go back. So she was just placed in Yiwu for this constant operation between their company in Russia and the main source of the product, which is Yiwu. So that was quite interesting to see, see how significant this level of trade that Yiwu represents for the international market. So I'm pretty sure she's not the only one that just moved to Yiwu
Right.
just because of these trade activities.
Hmm.
So now she's been there for a couple of years. She was super happy. She liked it. And she actually told me she preferred that way rather than just going back and forth, to Russia and China.
So the trade
Yeah.
relation is so big that why not like make my headquarter here in Yiwu? Because there are many Chinese cities that are famous for its like international presence in terms of trade, products. And among these Chinese cities, how did Yiwu stand out? Especially we're talking about Guangzhou and Shenzhen, these cities that are perhaps more famous, popular in some genres of products. So, from your visit to Yiwu, how did Yiwu become the largest wholesale hub of the world?
Well, I will say there are different reasons. To begin, for example, yeah, I live in Shenzhen and I often travel to Guangzhou for work. I think nowadays, more than ever, I think each city is kind of specializing in one range of products. For instance, Shenzhen is
Mm,
has stronger presence with electronics and
right,
gadgets, and that's something you see more here. For example, there's a huge market in Shenzhen. It's one of the biggest in the world when it comes to electronics. It's called Huaqiangbei.
right. Cell
So
phones.
that is, yeah, exactly, for phones, computers, small parts for electronics and gadgets. So I think each city now knows their strengths
Okay.
and the kind of customers they can go to. And Yiwu perhaps definitely has specialized in small commodities. I think people who has to do with this kind of products and these kind of businesses, they know what Yiwu is, where it's located, where are the different strengths that the city has to make businesses. I guess also the location for Yiwu, it's also an important thing. It is located near a lot of different kind of factories that produce these kind of products. It's near to important ports in China like Shanghai or Ningbo. So I think location is also a important part for the development of Yiwu.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So the cities they know very well to, position themselves with a very clear, a name card in a specific genre of products. And this year, Yiwu actually has kind of become popular it's been reported that it's getting a lot of orders, businesses from the Paris Olympics, which hasn't even started yet. But even though these major events like Paris Olympics, they would often bring like very strong business to Yiwu. I've read about many business owners that they've been under pressure due to a flat global economy because I assume that a lot of these small commodities have a rather small margin of profit. So from Yiwu is at the very top of the supply chain, right? And these small commodities, they go through dealers, distributors, and then thousands or hundreds of thousands of shops around the world to reach the end consumers. And I'm wondering how the fluctuations from the suppliers have been reflected on the end of the supply chain, on the consumers.
Yeah, actually, some of them were mentioning some kind of challenges they've been facing lately because of this situation in the global economy, especially when it comes to some regions. We're talking about some economies that are facing huge challenges. Big clients for Yiwu are, for example, Latin America. And we know countries like Argentina and Venezuela are going through huge inflation periods where, make their economy weaker. And this represents also somehow a challenge for producers in Yiwu, for these kind of small businesses who produce products and send them to different kind of regions like Latin America. Same with other markets, like in Europe, we saw last year economies that are usually represent big growth for the region, like the UK or Germany. Their growth was close to zero. So these regions are big clients for Yiwu. So of course that represents for them a challenge when it comes to purchase power. And of course the final consumer also is affected. Now we see people, maybe they're not willing to buy that much. Right. And instead of saving more money for this just in case. And that was reflected in the comments that I perceived that I got from the local owners of these businesses in Yiwu. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they're having this kind of pressure. I guess somehow right now for this kind of world events like the Olympics or the World Cup, of course, Yiwu is a huge provider. It represents a challenge, but I think, as I said before, they know how to do their stuff. They will be willing to surpass any kind of challenge they might have and do it in the proper way. The Olympics represent an opportunity for them. I'm pretty sure at this point they're super busy producing, packaging, and shipping to France and the countries all around the world who are involved with the Olympics. And we'll see. I think all these products that we are going to buy, or people will be able to buy related to the Olympics, I will say 90% perhaps are coming from Yiwu. So
that's very large.
I think, it will be a very good opportunity also for Yiwu to prove one more time their capabilities to produce these kind of commodities.
Yeah, these small commodities, they may be cheap and simple, but actually essential to our daily lives, like toys, hairbands. Can you actually imagine living in a world without them?
We're talking about household appliances, hardware tools, toys. I mean, toys might be something that's not significant, but when it comes to growing a kid, I have a son, and I cannot imagine our lives without toys. It represents not just a way of distraction, but a way to, improve and challenge their creativity, and in many ways. So I think all these products that Yiwu is producing to supply the world might be small, but important and significant. Technology like hardware, toys, office supplies. There are a huge range of products that are produced there that nowadays are super valuable for our daily tasks.
Right.
So that's something that, to be honest, I was not quite sure where they were produced, they were coming from, until I knew the story behind how it actually works in Yiwu. That's something very interesting to know and share.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rafael, for joining us.
Yeah, sure. It was also my pleasure talking to you today.
According to the Yiwu customs, exports from the city skyrocketed in the first 2 months of this year. Not only did shipments to France grow by 42% compared to last year, they also surged by 62% to the rest of Europe. In addition to serving as the unsung heroes of major global events, these small commodities have been consistently spreading joy to families worldwide. And of course, in these times of inflation, we all miss the days when the price tags on these little treasures were just as small as the items themselves. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Deep Dive. If you enjoyed what you just heard, don't forget to follow us on your podcast platform. Just search for Deep Dive. You can also leave comments to let us know what you want to learn about China and beyond. This episode is brought to you by me, Li Yunqi, and my colleagues Zhang Zhang and Qizhi. Special thanks to content creator Rafael Saavedra, whom you can find across many social media platforms by Rafa Goes Around. I'll see you in the next one.